Hello and welcome to Teacher Talk, the podcast for teachers who are lifers but still want to have a life. This is Jared, and as always, I'm joined by my partner, Johanna. Hey, Johanna.
Hi, Jared.
What are we going to talk about today?
Behavior management plans.
What's a behavior management plan?
A behavior management plan is you pre-thinking how to deal with behaviors when they happen in the classroom and how to prevent behaviors from happening in the first place.
I know this is. You put a poster on the wall, and it's got the list of things to do and not to do, and then you read it on the first day, and that's your behavior management plan?
No.
Okay, so enlighten me. How is that not a behavior management plan?
Well, I, like many teachers, have done a lot of reading on behavior management, and a lot of the times it's focused on what the rules are or how to write the rules, and it misses the fundamental point, which is assume things are going to go wrong and then have a plan for how you're going to respond when they go wrong.
Okay. How do you go about assuming things are going to go wrong? I could do that. I just say, yeah, things are going to go wrong. I did it.
Well,
why are you laughing at me?
Well, because I think as teachers,
things are going to go wrong. That's why I have the poster. So I can point at the poster and say, you're not supposed to do that. It's on the poster.
Right. And then that sometimes works. But then, what do you do when that doesn't work?
Oh.
And so you start getting angry because, you have the rule. You pointed out the rule. You taught the rule. You taught the expectation of the rule. You did all this work to have a kid not do it. And then, lo and behold, the kid acts like a kid and breaks the rule.
Okay, so what am I supposed to do to put together a good behavior management plan?
Okay, well, I think element number one is to realize that in my experience, there are two types of classrooms. And the easiest way to describe it is elementary and secondary. Elementary students need a different behavior management plan than secondary students.
So what's the difference between them?
I should preface this by saying this is a general truth. There have been classes that have been the opposite on both sides of the spectrum. But as a general truth, I separate it like this. Elementary students, for the most part, kind of act like dogs.
Okay, how do dogs act?
They want to do right by you. They want to please you. They want to make you happy. They tend to be reactionary. A catalyst can cause extreme behaviors for the positive or for the negative. When something goes wrong, they sometimes look at you in wonderment of how did that happen? Why did I just do that? Either because they didn't mean to or because they seem to not have control over the choices that they made. So this particular podcast is going to be all about how to manage those classes where, for lack of a better term, they kind of act like dogs. They just want to make you happy. They want to do good. They want to do right. And then sometimes that doesn't happen.
So are secondary kids like cats? Then?
Yeah.
Hey, it
nice.
Works. It works.
Yes. There tends to be a lot.
What are cats like?
A lot more premeditation. Whether that's a positive or negative, it's just they seem to be a lot more cognizant over what they are doing. They also tend to prolong their reactions. So an elementary student tends to be more like a domino. If something bad happened at home and they didn't get enough sleep, boom, down goes the dominoes. If someone was mean to them on the playground, boom, goes the dominoes. Whereas a secondary student is more like, this person hurt me. I shall take that rage and frustration and I shall instead direct it at this other person who wasn't involved at all. And I purposely choose to direct my rage to this individual. And they're much more specialized in how they act.
Like a dog will knock over a vase with its tail just because it's wagging its tail and then feel bad that a loud sound happened. Whereas a cat will look at the vase and be like, I wonder if I'll get any attention if the vase crashes.
Sure. And it's not, like I said, it's not always true. But as a general truth, secondary and elementary need different behavior management plans because of that.
And right now we're going to focus on the dog elementary behavior management plan.
Yes.
So what do you do? What do you do?
So step one, you need to think through every expected behavior choice that's going to be common, that's going to be true amongst all your students.
Like, what do you mean behavior choice?
For example, we come in off the playground and we're loud and disruptive, even though we've practiced and learned that we're quiet when we come in off the playground. Or we are doing learning that's hard, and even though we've practiced how we don't talk to our friends when we're struggling with hard learning, we turn and talk to our friend instead of doing that learning that's really hard.
Or when new people come over and ring the doorbell, we don't bark and jump up on them.
Right.
But of course it's going to happen.
Right, it's going to happen. You've practiced, you've taught, they know the consequences, and yet
but it's natural for this river of discipline to overflow its little kid bounds.
Right. So it's helpful from a teacher's perspective to just go ahead and make a list. Doesn't matter who the kid is, doesn't matter that you don't know your kids. What can you expect in your classroom, in your school, with behavior issues? Make
a list of everything that you know is going to become a behavior issue at some point.
That's common.
Like expected behavior issues, behavior management issues.
And then the side portion of that is to go through anything that, if it happened, would transform how the class felt.
Okay. What?
So, for example, a kid throwing a temper tantrum in your class transforms the mood of the entire classroom. So making a list of those things that are rare, that if they happen, they might only happen once, they might never happen, but if it happened, it would drastically transform the classroom, and you would have to really start over with your work.
Predictable big disruptors that may not happen, but you wanted...
The dog might not ever poop in the center of your brand new carpet. On the other hand, because that would be such a bad thing to have happen, we should at least realize that could be a thing that happens, and so we need to pre-plan what we're going to do.
Okay. So I've got my list of things that are anticipatable common behaviors, and I've got my list of things that are anticipatable uncommon but highly disruptive behaviors. What do I do with my list?
Okay, so the next step is to, ounce of prevention. What might prevent or eliminate those issues in the first place? And this is really directed at starting to show students their power, right? Because you can only react to a behavior. What you want is a student to prevent a behavior in the first place. And so kind of element one of a behavior management plan.
Their own behavior.
Right. So element one of a behavior management plan is not teacher, it's student. I realize that something is building and I am going to make a poor choice. I need to have a pre-planned, thought out, practiced intervention that I, the student, can use to prevent that bad choice.
Like?
I am a huge spokesperson for self-isolation. Not punishment. I, as a student, realize I'm struggling with my learning, or I'm frustrated, or I am too excited, and I am going to go to this space.
The peace corner or what have you.
Right. I call it a peace corner. It is a place where you will be alone. You will be by yourself. No one will talk to you. You're not in trouble. You are communicating to everyone that you need a break.
And I think I see where this is going, because you're empowering them in a way that, like, if it goes beyond that, if they don't exercise their power to use the self-isolation, use the peace corner, you'd have a stronger way of talking to them that's be like, well, someone said something mean to me, so I had to react. Well, no, you didn't, because you had the option to remove yourself from the situation and from the any expectation of you except to be by yourself and be quiet, right?
Right, and even that conversation, the way you described it, is one I recommend not having in the classroom.
Well, but I thought it was very smart when I thought thought it up just a second ago. What's wrong with that?
But no one wants to be told when they're emotional that they were wrong.
Oh, well.
Right? We can reflect once the emotions are gone.
Sure, okay.
But you can't, there's two options if you tell me I'm wrong. A, I get angry that you told me I'm wrong because I don't think I'm wrong because I'm still in the emotional heat of how I'm feeling. How dare you tell me that? I have a right to these emotions. Or B, I realize I'm wrong and now I'm self-defensive because now I'm embarrassed that I was wrong and I was wrong potentially in front of the entire class. So what am I going to do? I'm going to just jump it up even higher than I was already. Yeah, that's
But I'm not wrong.
Like,
but I am actually still kind of right in that, like, that's the idea of it, is they have the power to prevent their own bad behavior because there's this option. You just wouldn't, like, lecture them on it in the middle.
Right.
Okay.
You're frustrated.
I am frustrated. You told me my idea was wrong.
When we're frustrated in our classroom, as leaders, we go to the peace corner.
Okay.
And that's what you practice. That's what needs practiced a lot because just like a little puppy,
it feels hard to argue with.
Just like a little puppy, you have to practice to get them to not bark at the door. You have to practice how we don't bark at the door. When we hear the door, we go to. They have an action. They have a purpose. They have a thing that when they start to feelings and emotion they can't control.
I've seen people actually do that with dogs. Is that when the doorbell rings, they go to their kennel.
Right.
They get trained like, okay, I'm too excited.
Right.
But I know when I hear the doorbell, I'm supposed to go sit in my kennel.
Right.
And then I get a treat when I come out.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, okay. It seems weird, but it seems also not weird.
It's really effective. You do have to practice it a lot. You have to play pretend with it. As the school year goes on, I reteach it kind of from the ground up after every long break. So after winter break, we relearn it. After spring break, we relearn it. If something happened in the classroom and it wasn't used correctly, then I don't do it right away because that's too connected to the student, but then I will put it back on the agenda that we need to do more play and pretend with how to use the Peace Corner because it has to be an unconscious reaction on the student's part to go to the Peace Corner.
They just know they're supposed to take that. And that's what makes the affirmative response so effective, I would gather, is that you can become trained in a way to take an affirmative response to something. It's really hard to train a negative response because then you're just sitting there exercising discipline that even, fully brain-formed adults often fail at, right?
Right.
Like, it's just that positive way out. Like, I can do this other thing instead of sit here and not do all the things I'm not supposed to do.
Right.
That makes it effective as a I don't want to overlean on this dog thing, but it seems like it's working like a trained response to negative stimulus.
With the Peace Corner, I will say this. The Peace Corner is there to remove stimulus. Do not fill the Peace Corner with books, gadgets, games. Make it, and for me...
You're trying to get back to neutral?
Right. For me, my students in my school, when I observed, before I was a teacher there, I took a personal day and just observed, and when I observed kids making poor choices, when they essentially tried to run away, they wanted to hide underneath something. So my Peace Corner, I mean, it looks like...
Yeah, that's what kids do.
It looks like a little dungeon, but I will tell you that, I give them the option. The older students, I say, the Peace Corner can be to take the drink pass and go get a drink, right? Or the Peace Corner can be, I have this space under a table. I highly recommend a plastic mirror or some sort of reflective surface. Them seeing themselves, I have no idea why this works, but this, A, it entertains them. B, it calms them down. They spend a lot of time looking at themselves in the Peace Corner. And then I recommend, for lack of a better term, preschool silent activity games. So something that is all-encompassing, that they've experienced before, that kind of they've experienced a time playing with it before. So it might entertain them for a minute or two, but it doesn't cause cognitive excitement. One doesn't want to go to the Peace Corner to play with this thing.
Okay.
And then Depends on the school. I don't have an issue with kids throwing things out of the Peace Corner. However, I have heard that there are schools where there's more behavior of things throwing. And so if that were the case, I probably wouldn't have anything that could be removed from the Peace Corner space. But yeah, it's just self-isolation.
Okay.
That then is going to eliminate a lot of your behaviors by empowering students to kind of respond before. The next thing is to realize you have to have a stepping stone process. When the Peace Corner doesn't work, you can't then be like, well, now I'm going to get frustrated because the Peace Corner didn't work or the kid didn't go to the Peace Corner. So you have to have a level 2. What happens when the kid should go to the Peace Corner and doesn't go to the Peace Corner? Or what happens when whatever your intervention that self-empowers doesn't work? Then what do you as a teacher do?
And when the self-intervention doesn't work, the very first step, you more or less just remind them that the Peace Corner is the appropriate thing. You're what do we do when we're upset and we don't feel like continuing with the class?
Right.
And then they say we go to the Peace Corner.
Look at you. Yes, that is my level 2, but a different teacher might want a different response.
You don't really say you need to go to the Peace Corner now.
Right. It can't be a consequence. It's not a consequence.
You're just reminding them that this is the next step when they don't self-choose it.
Yep.
Okay.
I am calm. I am pleasant. I tend to try and get lower than the student. I don't want the student to be threatened by me. If possible, I hold out my hand and I don't talk to them at all because we should have practiced enough that they know what me holding out my hand means. That they know that this means, okay, we are going to I need the Peace Corner. That's where she's taking me. Talking, I think, tends to escalate issues, right? Kids could hear part of your words. They could hear a tone in your words. Best just to have it so practiced that you can hold out your hand. The kid knows what that means. They put their hand in yours. They might fight it for 5 seconds or 10 seconds and it'll feel like forever. But they will. They'll just put their hand out and then you can walk into the Peace Corner and then you can and then they'll be fine.
This continues to be eerily like training dogs.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah,
I've
right?
never had a dog.
You don't talk to a dog. Well, you do. You can. But usually your verbal commands are combined with hand signals or something to
Yeah.
It's weird, but it makes sense, right? It's a deeper level of behavior than our conscious cerebral cortex minds, right? You can reach someone and get them to agree that they want to behave in principle, or you can just harness these deeper level thought patterns of a social animal,
right?
And especially, like you said, in the situation where they're basically like that anyway, because they're not trying to use their human minds to decide to misbehave. You're taking advantage of the very thing that's causing them to go off the rails in the first place. You're correcting based on the same level of thought. It's interesting.
Yeah, you can't stop there.
Step 2 was remind them by inviting them, essentially, by asking them what they're supposed to do. If they say, no, I don't want to go to the Peace Corner, what do you do?
Okay, I think each teacher should create their own plan. This just happens to be mine. Level 3. So I've held out my hand for them to go to the Peace Corner. They are refusing to take my hand. Then what I say is, in a very calm, pleasant, but parenting, firm voice, it kind of sounds like this. Your job as a learner is to go to the Peace Corner. I'm going to give you time to make the right choice. When I come back, we'll be at level 3, and we're going to go to the reflection desk. And then I walk away.
For about 20 seconds?
30 seconds, maybe a minute.
Okay. And then what?
If you have practiced it enough, if the kid isn't so far gone that there's still part of their mental brain that's making choices, they sometimes will choose the reflection desk over the Peace Corner, but they'll move. If the kid doesn't move, it means the intervention hasn't come fast enough, and we'll talk about what level 4 looks like, but let's talk about what the reflection desk is.
Okay.
By the time the Peace Corner hasn't worked, Me offering my hand to take them to the Peace Corner hasn't worked. That means I need to up the student's ability to communicate with me. The reflection desk isn't a punishment. The reflection desk is an opportunity for the students to be heard.
They got something they want to get off their chest.
Yes, an injustice has occurred.
Yes.
And that injustice could have been caused by me. It could have been caused by another student. It could have been caused by mom at home. It is like they need justice. Like it is in their heart. And the reflection desk has a reflection that isn't... A lot of reflections I see are all like student poor choice, student poor choice, student poor choice. You have to think about the reflection desk as being a communication center. How do I currently feel? How do I want to feel? And what do I need to help me change?
So this is not Bart Simpson writing, I will not put cherry bombs in the toilets over and over again. That's not,
right.
It's not that sort of reflection.
Right. Now, very elementary, it is like emojis. I picked the emoji that I am right now. This is what mine look like. I pick the emoji I want to be, and then I draw a picture, and I make a plan of how to make me feel better. And then my students have practiced this. We practice. The reflection desk is closer to the door because at this point
I know what the next step is.
Things are getting a little bit more. We need to definitely self-isolate. Whereas the Peace Corner is isolated from the students, but it's close to my teacher table, right? The reflection desk is genuinely like, it is right next to the door. There's a picture. They go through this process, and then we practice, and it is trained that you stay at the Peace Corner until Miss Rest comes. And really, if they're 6, I leave them there for about 6 minutes. Like, I let them get good and bored, and the reflection has to be filled out. I'll come check in, and then I'll look at the reflection, and then I'll just simply say, I'll come back once you've had time to fill it out. And then I also have an option that's for writers. So if they want to choose to write over draw with the emoji one, then it's similar. But it's really focused on the future, not bringing up whatever happened, because they'll naturally do that anyway. I want the reflection to be about what do I need from my teacher? What do I need to make better choices when I re-enter the learning space?
Oh, okay. That was a lot to talk about.
Yeah, sorry. It turns out this is more intense.
Well, there's a lot to learn. So, what do you think? What do you think we should do so that people can absorb this a little bit better?
I think we should maybe take a break and move this into the next episode.
What a fantastic idea we just came up with in real time as you're listening to this.
Shh, Jared, don't reveal our secrets. We're experts.
This is not just an extra bit of audio that we dropped into the middle of the really long podcast we just recorded. It's happening in real time as you hear it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Because this was our plan. But because it was our plan, you're now hearing me say, join us next time for part 2 of behavior management plans.
For elementary.
We
haven't even gotten to secondary.
So much to talk about. But this is fun. This is the meat and potatoes of classrooms, right?
Yeah, if you don't have this, you can't learn.
Without this, nothing. Sine qua non.
Okay.
Yeah. We talked about that before, I think.
I know, okay, yep.
I'm going to look up the pronunciation so that the third time I say it, then I'll actually say it right.
Thanks, Jared.
Thanks, Johanna.
Thank you for listening to
Teacher Talk, the podcast for teachers who are lifers but still want to have a life.